to our technology briefing. The topic is providing context for your requirements and stories, and it's really applicable no matter which methodology you follow today, structured, agile, or a bit of both. Your speakers today are myself, Bob Savelson, and I've been helping clients optimize their requirements processes for almost 20 years now. Joining me is Asif Sharif, and Asif is our chief technologist and the founder of our company. Our company helps our clients in achieving the objectives listed on this slide by implementing our tool and providing automation and enhanced quality and collaboration throughout their product lifecycle process. Whether you're working in the same office as your teammates, and who does that anymore in today's COVID reality, or have your coworkers located on the other side of the world, the job of a business analyst or product owner or developer who is tasked with creating requirements is to create those requirements clearly and succinctly, get them approved, and ultimately share them with coworkers or outside vendors who in turn build, test, and release the products that you specify. However, if your hard work is not fully understandable by others, it may be lacking sufficient clarity and context. Some symptoms of this are listed on the slide. We hear these issues every day from our prospective clients and existing clients. One way to achieve context is to create requirements in the same environment where your devs and testers work. Our tool is uniquely built into the Microsoft Azure DevOps platform and can be deployed in the cloud or on your site. It provides a single source of truth for all of your project work, thereby delivering end-to-end traceability and end-to-end collaboration real time. Another way to achieve context is by leveraging the unique online document authoring module in our toolset called SmartDocs. SmartDocs effectively bridges the gap between a document-centric requirements approach and a digitally managed requirements approach. As you're creating online documents, you can add many different types of content, including rich text, tables, diagrams, many link types, to provide the much needed context for the consumers of your requirements, whether they're technically oriented or not. SmartDocs is one of many capabilities that are built into our comprehensive requirements toolset, Modern Requirements for DevOps. You can see there is a layer of visualization capabilities that also add context to your textual requirements in a very integrated manner. We have collaborated with IIBA and developed 2 process templates to support your project work based on the IIBA's BA body of knowledge, and its agile extension, Babok Agile. These provide you with a rich set of work items, enabling you to provide clarity, relationships, and coverage of your requirements. Coverage, for example, like features covering user needs, or test cases covering features. Ultimately, it delivers better context for the consumers of your work. Our tool is very easy to use and essential for business analysts and product owners. It also provides many points of value for other roles in your product development lifecycle. Many companies in a variety of different industries around the world rely on our software, helping them to efficiently enhance existing products and bring new innovative products to market quickly. I would now like to ask Asif to give you a quick guided tour of how SmartDocs can enhance the clarity of your requirements and stories and provide that much needed context. Asif, over to you.
Thank you, Bob. So what we'll do now is show you how to build requirements in context. And in this session, we'll focus on SmartDocs. Now, SmartDocs is a bridge between document and work item management. So it gives you the best of both worlds, document management and requirements or work item management. Now, most people traditionally have used documents. More lately, people have want to manage records of information such as work items or just requirements records. But each has their own advantages. SmartDocs give you the best of both worlds. Here's an example of a SmartDoc. In this SmartDoc, what it shows you is that you have here an introduction, an overview, a scope statement, a diagram that sets the context of what you're doing. You can have swim lane or BPMN diagrams if you want, followed by an epic, features, and then stories. So if I go to the outline view, you can actually see the structure of this document. So there's a document with sections for intro, overview, scope, followed by a diagram, followed by epic, features, and stories. In this view, if I wanted to add a new test case, I could do add user happy path. That could be one test case, and duplicate user. Duplicate user error. So this could be another test case. So this particular user story has two test cases in it. And in fact, if you look at the link types the system has created, it actually used tested by link type. So it actually created those work items, but created it with the appropriate link type in it. In fact, if you had a test case, let's just call this test case 3, and we wanted the same test case to be applied to other user stories, you could even go here and say, I want test case 7823, 7823, and pull this one and assign it to other user stories as well, where appropriate, of course. So you would add it to the right places. But of course, you can't drop it on the same instance. But now you can see the same test case appears twice. Now, similarly, you could have other work items. You've defined as these stories. You can drag and drop it into a smart doc. But the idea being that a smart doc is simply a collection of work items presented in a very effective way, where you can actually read the smart doc or the collection of work items therein as though they were a document. Now, in addition to being able to author these documents, you can also version them. So you can create different versions of the smart doc. And now let's go ahead and make a few changes here. So I'll change this document specification to the word document. And then I'll open up the smart editor where we can say change a couple of words here. So I'll make this spec. I'll make this VRS. And so on and so forth. Okay. So we'll make a few edits. And we may even delete a line and add a new line. Yeah. So we are making changes to the document. And so here I could say updated. And in fact, let me just go to the outline view. And let's go ahead and remove this work item from this document. And let's add a new user story. So as we do these things, after some time, you might want to see how your document has evolved. Of course, again, remember, these documents are made up of requirements and other work item types. So now we can go and compare it to version 1 and see what exactly changed. So we deleted that line, we changed a few words there. Down here, we removed this user story, and then we added one below it. Okay? And you can now save this as a Word document with redlining or PDF with redlining. Now, you will see that depending on where I am within a smart doc, certain options are available, such as diagramming. So you can either insert a diagram or you can create a new diagram within a smart doc. When you do have a diagram, this is like having Visio directly in Word. You could open up the diagram editor, and in the diagram editor, you can model your diagrams. So there's a bunch of different stencils available that you can use to model your diagrams. You can use Swimlane if you want to, or use some UML artifacts, and so on. But of course, when you're creating these things, you could simply, you basically drag and drop these things. And of course, when you want to start, you might say, this is a start. This is an end, and so on. And you could take all your endpoints then maybe we'll just change the background to red. Yeah, that color maybe. Right, so now we've sort of updated this diagram. Now, not only can you create diagrams within Smart Docs and with model requirements, but you can also create work items against individual activities. So you can actually use the diagram as a trampoline to identify your requirements. And you can also go to the Analysis tab and have the system detect all the integration stories. How do things come together? And that's really important to document, because individually things might work, but we also need to make sure that they work together well. And so this is what this is doing, identifying the different integration stories or scenarios. Similarly, you can generate a use case artifact, or more importantly, a test case artifact. In fact, many test cases the system will detect all the different test cases that you can then record and publish. So that then becomes your test case work items. So diagramming in model requirements is very powerful, and you can create them directly within a smart doc. Now, one thing to remember, when you are working on diagrams, you have the ability to build on the diagram. So traditionally what people do is they create a diagram, they'll create their requirements independently from it, they'll create this use cases or scenarios independently, and they'll create test cases independently. And what this is doing is this brings it all together. It brings it all together where you're building new knowledge on existing knowledge. So you build a good diagram, and then all the other knowledge can flow out of it. So this way, not only are you building the system much more efficiently, it is more accurate. So now we have the diagram, and of course the updates are directly within Smart Docs. Now, the other thing you will note is, again, when I go here, it gives me some options. When I go there, it gives me other options. When I go to, say, under diagram, it gives me user story options, and so on and so forth. Now, so the question is, how do you define a document template? That is to say, what information can appear within a document so that when I'm authoring that specification, the system drives my activities, drives the workflow of authoring. And to do that, you would go to the Meta Template Designer. So it is in the Meta Template Designer you define a structure. Now, this particular template is a hybrid template. So this has epic features, requirements, and stories. But the work item types that you have defined in Azure DevOps gets inherited in modern requirements. And that is to say, you can define your own work item types, and you can define your own document templates. Whereas this template is saying that a document should generally use parent-child relationship, alternatively related relationship. And a document can have sections for things like introduction. And then you can have epics, features, requirements, and then stories. And stories can have test cases, but test cases will use tested by link type. So there's a lot of intelligent information within a meta template that the people who are creating that content don't have to be mindful of, because the tool will drive how what information gets created within the tool, within Smart Docs particularly. And then you can see diagrams can have user stories, and you can specify what fields get shown within a user story. Although you can add many properties to it. You can add all the properties if you like within a Smart Doc. But of course, if you add too many properties, the document becomes less useful. Now, what most people do is that they'll define a few meta templates and use those templates to author within Smart Docs. So this is really the brains behind Smart Docs. The other thing you can do is you can generate a document. So you can say, save this as Word, and this will produce a Word document. You can say, save this as PDF. It will produce a WYSIWYG PDF document. Similarly, let's say you don't want the WYSIWYG output. You don't want the document to look just like this, but you want to show additional information. Because remember, these are work items after all. So what you can do is you can even call Smart Report in this context, choose the template that is most appropriate, and generate your document for that. So this is table-based reporting. But these templates are user-definable. You can actually configure these templates according to your specific needs, right? So you design your templates here, and thereby be able to extract a report from wherever you're running a Smart Report from with the appropriate information. And then ultimately that information can be saved as Word or PDF documents. Now, in SmartDocs, you can not only author your requirements and your specifications and manage those documents with versioning, comparison, rollbacks, and so on. But what you can also do is you can do review management. So you can actually initiate a review from a SmartDoc. So how do you do review management? You initiate review. You can invite two types of users. You can invite reviewers and approvers. So if I invite approvers, this person can approve and reject. Reviewers can only provide comments. You give it a due date. You can request that the document be approved as a whole or by default in parts. That is, every requirement, every work item gets approved individually. You can request e-signature, and you can also change states of the work item once everyone approves that work item. And then you can preview it, and then you can send the document for review. So when you send the document for review, the reviewer will get an email, they'll click on that hyperlink, and once they click on the hyperlink, they'll be taken to the review management area, and it is in the review management area they can see the document, like so. So if they can now see the document here, they can in turn approve the work items, like so, or they could come here and add a comment and reject the work item. And then there can be a conversation and a discussion here, and users can change their minds as long as the review is still open. Let me reject this one. Now, what you can see is that if I'm reviewing for the first time, it's easy to read through the document and approve and reject either each section individually or if you've selected as a whole. What you can also do is you can compare. If you do a comparison, you can see exactly what changed so that I can actually approve and reject things appropriately. So now I know how things have evolved, so I don't have to read it that carefully because the edits are self-evident. You can also, in the Details tab, see how many requirements were approved or rejected, how many are outstanding, by who. You can change your due date. You can cancel the review, close the review. You can send a reminder, but the reminder can also be automated. You can also generate audit reports. By the way, if you had enabled e-signature, that upon acceptance or rejection, you would see a pop-up that says enter your username and password. So users have to authenticate themselves again if you want e-signature. And that's one of the key elements of having an e-signature. Now, Model Requirements has many other capabilities, of course, such as review management, baselining, reuse, using FAQs, wireframing and use case editor, our AI tool with Alice, Smart Notes, and reporting and so on. So there are many capabilities, but the key point of this demonstration was the fact that when you're creating requirements, and if you're managing requirements as a list of things, they're very difficult to absorb, even if it's a hierarchy of things. It's very difficult to manage that information because you need things like introduction and overview. You need diagrams in there so that people can understand the context in which they're defining requirements. And then they want to be able to read the requirements and the related information, such as test case, in a very user-friendly, linear fashion, like it's a document. And finally, having the ability to compare it to different versions of the document makes it much more user-friendly to see what is changing, because change, particularly in Agile, is very frequent. So how do you know what changed? And the compare view can be extremely valuable there. So that's an overview of defining your requirements in context with other information, which makes the life of the person authoring, the contributor, much more productive, but also people who are consuming the artifacts, the business stakeholders, the developers, and the testers, they can consume this information in a much more user-friendly and a fluid manner, and not have to click around to put a mental model of what needs to be done. It is clearly, and simply presented as a document. So that, folks, is SmartDocs. Thank you, and over to you, Bob.
Thanks for watching our presentation today. We'd be pleased to provide your company with a personalized online demonstration of our software. Simply email us at info@modernrequirements.com and we'd be glad to set it up. Or, if you like, you can try our product yourselves by visiting the link shown on this slide and requesting a trial. We hope to talk to you soon, and please enjoy the rest of the show.